Well, I don't think it's going to be $5 trillion. That's the amount of debt that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are holding. But a lot of those are good mortgages. People are paying them. We are going to see some losses. Taxpayers are going to take a hit. How big it is, we don't yet know. And I have to be fair on this one. Republicans and Democrats, I think, in Congress did not pay enough attention to the structural problem with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which was they're a quasi-public, quasi-private institution. They're making big profits and their CEOs are taking in big bonuses when times are good, but there's this implicit federal guarantee when times are bad. And that was a structural problem that needs to be fixed. But the problem of not regulating the financial markets effectively generally, not seeing that the subprime lending crisis was leading to a mess, not updating some of our financial regulations since the 1930s, that's been, I think, an example of the neglect on the part of the Bush administration over the last 8 years, whose view is basically anything goes and the government's just got to stay out of the way. That, I think, has ironically hurt the market. And one of the things that we've got to rediscover is that a little bit of well-applied regulation and transparency and accountability actually helps the market, helps the economy grow, and that's what I want to restore when I'm president.
You pointed out last week how little time at their convention the Republicans spent talking about the economy. I think the time might have been 0:00. I'm not sure, we weren't running a clock. But if the election does in fact hinge on the economy, on how Americans are doing, has there been thought given to breaking this down to its simplest element in much the way one of the Republican icons, Mr. Reagan, did during the 1980 campaign, and ask the voters of today, are you better off now than you were 8 years ago?
Oh, absolutely, and I often do that on the campaign trail, and we're going to just keep on repeating that. I mean, this should not be complicated. Here's what it comes down to. Under George Bush's stewardship, with an assist from John McCain and the rest of the Republican Party, the economy is weaker now than it has been in a very long time. Unemployment is higher, poverty is higher, more people are uninsured. Wages and incomes have flatlined. Middle-class folks who used to feel secure now feel unstable. We've got more homes being lost to foreclosure than any time since the Great Depression. And John McCain does not have any discernible difference from George Bush when it comes to economic policy. He's got the same economic policy. So if you like what has happened under George Bush's presidency, you should vote for John McCain. If you think that we have to move this country in a fundamentally different direction, then you should vote for me. And that is going to be the case that we make throughout this election. And frankly, that's not the conversation that the McCain campaign wants to have. Rick Davis was very explicit, John McCain's campaign manager, and said, this campaign is not going to be about the issues. That was his assertion. Well, I think that the American people expect it to be about the issues. They deserve it to be about the issues. That's what we're going to keep on pressing in the weeks that remain.
Should Senator Obama not have becalmed those liberal 527 groups? Is Governor Palin qualified to be president? Among the remaining questions for the senator about the governor, videotape tonight of her addressing fellow parishioners just 2 months ago at a church at which they speak in tongues, believe in the rapture, think God can make a pipeline happen, and that they can pray away the gay. Senator Obama told a crowd of voters in Missouri earlier this summer that Republicans would try to scare voters by saying he doesn't look like all those other presidents on the dollar bills. McCain's campaign manager, Rick Davis, accused the Democratic nominee of, quote, playing the race card from the bottom of the deck. A reminder that last week, Senator Obama's race was injected into this campaign by a Republican, Congressman Lynn Westmoreland of Georgia, who called both Senator Obama and his wife, Michelle, quote, uppity. Asked further if he really meant to use that word, often used in connotation with another, Mr. Westmoreland saying, quote, yeah, uppity. In our fourth story in the countdown, when I asked Senator Obama about that in passing in our interview today, and he answered my larger question, he was not, Rick Davis, playing the race card. Rachel Maddow wanted me to ask this question, so I'm doing this on her behalf because her new show is starting tonight. Given the tone that the campaign has taken, I mean, this Georgia congressman last week, Mr. Westmoreland, who called you and your wife, quote, uppity. In that context, do you regret putting the brakes on the 527 groups who would have produced or could have produced hard-hitting ads that would have been sharing your sympathies?
You know, I tell you what, Keith, I am confident that the American people, once the dust is settled, are going to say to themselves, do we really want to do the same thing we've been doing for the last 8 years, or do we want something new? I think there's a genuine sense of anxiety out there, not just about immediate economic prospects, but the sense that we are not living up to what's possible in America, that we're not delivering on the American promise. And I think that, understandably, people are saying to themselves, gosh, we like Obama, we like his message, but we haven't known him that long. Let's really lift the hood, kick the tires, take him out and watch him work hard, and let's take a look at these debates, and then we're going to make up our mind in mid-October. And I think that by the time this thing is all over, the contrast is going to be clear, and I believe the American people are going to make the choice for a new direction in the country, and I'm looking forward to helping to lead that.
One more campaign question. It pertains to not knowing someone or something. This is a question I have not really heard asked directly of anybody in a position perhaps to answer it, let alone answered. In your opinion, is Governor Palin experienced enough and qualified enough to become President of the United States in the relatively short-term future?
Well, I'll let you ask Governor Palin that when I'm sure she'll be appearing on your show. Sure. But rather than focus on her resume, I just want to focus on where she wants to take the country. As far as I can tell, there has not been any area, economic policy or foreign policy, in which she is different from John McCain or George Bush. In many ways, in fact, she agrees with George Bush even more than John McCain. So if John McCain agrees with Bush 90% of the time, maybe with her it's 97%. And so the thrust of our argument is going to be that the McCain-Palin ticket is offering the same stuff that has resulted in the middle class struggling, not seeing their incomes go up, seeing their costs go up, falling deeper into debt, at risk of losing their homes to foreclosure, unable to save or retire. Those are going to be, I think, the issues that ultimately matter to the voters, and that's why I'm trying to offer to them a very clear set of prescriptions, very clear ideas about what we intend to do, how we want to change the tax code, stop giving tax breaks to companies that ship jobs overseas, give 95% of Americans tax relief, have an energy policy that is serious about climate change, is serious about weaning ourselves off of Middle Eastern oil, investing in solar and wind and biodiesel, so we've got energy independence and creating jobs here in the United States, having a health care system that makes sure that we don't have 47 million people without health insurance. That message of possibility is, I think, the one that the American people are looking for.
More of my interview with Senator Obama tomorrow night. Why conservatives making less than $250,000 still think he will raise their taxes and not lower them. And as we look ahead to Thursday, how did 9/11 become a campaign issue, and whether the Republicans had the right to run that graphic videotape of the destruction of the World Trade Center as part of a political campaign. Barack Obama on Countdown again tomorrow night.